welcome to Moor Time in the Kitchen. So, picture the scene. It's date night and the lucky so-and-so is coming to your place for dinner. So it might be that maybe you don't cook very often, or maybe you just need something quick to rustle up. Maybe they're coming round after work, something like that. And the other issue is that either yourself or your date or both of you are vegetarian. So you need a quick, easy vegetarian recipe to impress your date. Well, if that's the case, then I have the perfect recipe for you. This is a slightly sweet sun-dried tomato pasta. And if Disney has taught us anything, it's that spaghetti is the most romantic of all the pastas. So, of course, it's spaghetti that's going in there. Anyway, your date awaits, so let's get cooking. So we're going to start by just preparing vegetables. So I've got half of a red onion, you can use a brown onion, doesn't really matter. I've got 8 cherry tomatoes, you can use 2 large tomatoes if you want. And I've got 8 sun-dried tomatoes. Actually, I've got 9, but one's for me. Okay, so let's start chopping these up. So we're basically just going to dice everything. Get rid of that. It's the onion. So I'm just halving and then quartering each bit of tomato, so you got 8 little chunks. So while I'm chopping these up, I want you to tell me what is the worst meal a date has ever cooked you. For me, it was my ex. I didn't dump him because the meal was so bad, by the way, but my ex was making me breakfast. He wanted to make me scrambled eggs, but for some reason decided that he was going to take the yolk out. I wasn't there supervising, but I wish I had been, because he said, no, just stay in bed, just relax, etc. Yeah, I wish I'd gotten out of bed. So eventually he comes through and he was like, oh, the egg's not sort of, it doesn't look right. And I was like, okay. So I came through and I looked at it and it was really watery and really pale. I was like, what have you done? And he said that he took the egg whites out. And I was like, why? And he was like, oh, I must have got it mixed up with meringues. I don't know how you get scrambled eggs mixed up with meringues, but yeah. Yeah, so that's probably the worst thing anyone's ever cooked for me. I mean, it's not that bad. You could get worse, couldn't you? At least they were cooked, I suppose. The sun-dried tomatoes I'm just gonna roughly dice as well. If you don't have any fresh tomatoes to hand, you can just use sun-dried tomatoes, just double up the quantity. And likewise, if you don't have any sun-dried tomatoes, then you can use fresh. But I really like the flavour of the sun-dried tomatoes. It really adds some like umami to it. My hair's properly getting in my face. Right, so that's all the vegetables ready to go, so we just gotta cook it now. The next thing you're gonna do is get some water boiling for your pasta. But while we're waiting for it to boil, I'll show you what other ingredients we're gonna add to the sauce. So I've got a little bit of brown sugar, that's just to get rid of the acidity from all the tomatoes. There's some tomato puree going in there as well. And I've got some Worcestershire sauce, lean parent, and I've got some Italian herbs. So you can tell it's not going to be a particularly heavy meal, which, to be honest, I think is best when you're having a date, especially if it's a third date. Okay, I'm going to stop before my eyebrows fall off. Yeah, but I think it's best to have a lighter meal when you're having a date, so that, you know, you're not kind of bogged down by it, you're both not knocked out by the meal. So our water is now just boiling and we're just going to pop in the spaghetti. Don't worry about it all sticking up at the end, we'll just sort of gently push it in as it goes along. So we're going to cook the spaghetti until it's al dente, which is basically a posh way of saying that it's not quite done. So the pasta will still be a little bit hard. So I've got some oil heating in there. I've actually just used the oil from the jar of the sun-dried tomatoes because I think that gives a little bit more tomatoey taste. And I mean, you know, waste not, want not. So we're just going to fry the onion for a couple of minutes in the oil. After about 2 minutes, the onion should have softened up a little bit. And then we're going to add the tomatoes, both the sun-dried and the fresh tomatoes. And to this, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of tomato concentrate, teaspoon of that brown sugar, about half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of Worcester sauce. And now we're going to add our Italian herbs. Now this is where you can show off to your date a little bit. So measure out in your hands and then give it a little when I made this for my friend, she described this as proper chef shit. Because it looks a little bit chefy. It looks like you know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing. Right, so I've mostly drained the pasta, but there's still a little bit of water in there just to add to the sauce, and we're just going to mix that all together. That's all stirred in together, so now all we've got left to do is plate it up. Now, to plate up, what I like to do is get a pair of tongs. Get a good chunk of your spaghetti, and then you can sort of twist it onto your plate and then just ease it off the spiked bit like that. Then just add on the tomato and onions, any extra bits that you've not managed to scoop up with the spaghetti. Then we're going to get some pine nuts, sprinkle them on top. The pine nuts add a little bit of crunch that I love, and they add about the only protein you're going to get in this meal. This is carb heavy. Then I'm going to get a little bit of parmesan and grate it on the top. There, beautiful. Okay, so time for the taste test. Let's get a bit of spaghetti. Whoop. Tomato as well. Well, there is no way that your date will not be head over heels, if not for this dish, then for you, for providing them with this delicious meal. So if you do actually try this on a date, please let me know how it goes, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!